track. It's time for Verbal Tap, the show that proves fighting is way easier from outside the cage. Boy, there is a lot to fucking talk about. Rafa Esparza on the line, of course, anchoring this ship towards a north starboard. I don't do nautical terms terribly well. Raf, how you doing this evening?
I I'm okay.
I
I
know.
for a second was with you, and then I very quickly got lost on where you were heading on that. But
You and me both. I
let's
don't
just
know
agree
where it
to it
went.
and say, yeah.
North starboard, whatever. Let's knock ourselves out. I am coming off a massive hangover drinking night because I turned 28 and I celebrated last night like an adult does on a Saturday.
hmm
Raf,
hmm
you've been having a rough week. What's going on with you? You're sick?
Um, yeah, I got a little sick, but I've been powering through it as much as I can. So I've just been, when you get that mentality where you say, "I'm not sick. I'm not getting sick." No, and
I work in
that's
corporate
fine.
America, so I don't get that mentality. I just go straight to, oh, I've got to chill. I better sit this one out. But the reason
Uh,
I knew you were
well,
you
as a
were
real
griping about not being able to train. That's I
No,
think the
I understand.
funniest.
What I'm saying, as the real backbone of this country with work ethic, that doesn't like taking sick leave days,
Was
I
that a
know that
Hispanic
the hard
allegiance?
part for me is what's that?
Was that a Hispanic? Was that a subtle statement about being proud Hispanic origins, or were you just making a man
I wasn't
comment?
making it that way, but thanks for making it super racist at 2 minutes into the podcast. I would say
Bienvenidos.
though that I just was very sad that I started to realize as you get the little sniffle, and for me, it was like a little bit of the throat drying up. I go, oh
Yeah,
shit, I'm
I
not
know what
going to
you're
be able
talking
to
about.
train. I would love to not tell people and just start going to jujitsu and just go, yep, deal with it. I'm sick. So that means you're sick too. Uh,
You're a true
but
mensch.
I just, I'm just in the back of my mind, I said, no, if I go there, I'm going to want to roll. And we actually had a promotion day. And so it's the day where like everybody comes
Yeah.
and everybody's going to roll and you're just so excited to get to roll with people. And as a precaution, I went up to the guys who run our gym and I just go, I'm sick. So I'm telling you this so that I don't try and get anybody else sick. So I'm just going to take it easy. And there's nothing worse than telling everybody you're sick and then just sit and watching everybody else roll. And then you
Yeah.
see other people make mistakes and you go, oh, I could have fixed that.
What are we doing over
Oh,
there?
I could have gotten that sweep.
Where's your leg?
God damn it. And the worst part is I almost started coaching people. And then I realized I'm like, that's also a terrible idea because I could never
I
live with the idea if I coach persons into the wrong thing. And I'm like, you should totally go for that sweep. Oh shit, you got submitted. That wasn't my fault.
I did that 3 times. It was just three of us at jiu-jitsu last Saturday at open mat. Andrew was at a tournament reffing, so it was just three of us. And I realized I was a shitty jiu-jitsu coach. But here's why I like this, Raph, and this is a compliment to you. You can tell you're someone that's truly addicted to jiu-jitsu because your priorities, like, this was the only thing that upset you about being sick. You weren't like, I'm going to have to deal with some physical ailments. It's going to be a pain in the ass while I'm trying to make
No,
money on the podcast with my voice and sounding a little
mm,
nasally, which is not, I'm not trying to insult you. I'm just saying. And your first
that's
instinct
fine. My
was, oh,
voice is
fuck,
golden. It's fine.
how do I train? Which is such a non-normal person response to things. So that's a good thing. How
But
was
let's discuss a couple
VMAC?
things. If I'm
Oh, okay.
at work, oh, VMAC was great. Yeah, but if I'm at work and I start to feel sick, I don't feel as bad because it's not like I'm trying to choke out any other human being or have a lot of contact with them. So I just
Yeah,
kind of keep my
jiu-jitsu
distance
is
and I'm
not a
like, you go
sport
do
you
that.
can fake it. Yeah.
No, jujitsu is like a sport that you start coughing and then you are trying to choke somebody and you sneeze and then it's on their face. So I'd rather not do that to people. But know full well that the entire time I was like sitting there watching it go on, I love that our main instructor walks over to me and just sits down and starts shooting the breeze. And he's giving this look like, don't you wish you were healthy? And I'm like, oh, just
Yes.
No.
Fuck, I do.
Anger.
I do.
Up.
Jiu-jitsu practitioners, mixed martial artists of all types, let us know on Twitter @VerbalTapCast if you've ever experienced these situations and how you get over them. You know we're going to get some people that are like, oh, I just say fuck it and go train. They can get sick. Bastards.
You want to know the best part
is?
Stronger. The best part is sitting there, and when everybody was rolling, because like I kind of did the warm-ups with everybody, and I just sat out for the rolling, which on a day like that, they go for like 40 minutes. So I'm sitting there and I'm watching, and while I'm watching, I felt like, oh my God, you know what? I think I might be healthy enough to do this. I think I'm actually, like, I don't feel sick right now. And I sat out. I was like, nah, I probably shouldn't. I walked 2 feet out of that door to go buy some beer for the party, and I was... And I go, oh no, I don't know who the fuck I thought I was kidding. I was definitely sick. Like, I just love that you get that bravery for 2 seconds.
I do. And I think your teammates certainly appreciate your at least mild attention to detail. So, that said, we have a lot to talk about. UFC on Fox 9 was Wednesday, or last night. Oh God, I'm so drunk. I was so drunk. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about who's fighting for the middleweight title and how pissed I am. But first, the biggest news that we have to talk about first, Raf. GSP he's giving up the belt and taking a leap of absence from the UFC. And for those that might have missed the press conference, we have it here, Raf.
Oh, do we?
Oh, we do. GSP, Dana, the whole gang's here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
GSP and Dana.
Yeah, they should get warmed up.
Okay.
Because it's almost showtime for them.
Yep.
So
good
obviously,
of them to both agree to be on the podcast. Yep.
Yeah, I do love it when they both just comply. So obviously, you're gonna have to take a break, and we'll be right back.
I'll sit this one out.
Yeah. Thanks, Raf. People listening to the Verbal Tap podcast, first of all, thanks. It means the world to us. We love doing the show. And what can you get us? The holidays right around the corner. It's simple. 5-star review on iTunes will do it. Or you can send me an exact replica-sized cage. No, let's do the 5 stars.
Okay, everybody, thank you all for coming today to our press conference. We're about to go ahead and start. Thank you again for coming. We hope you have a good time during this press conference. I'm going to hand it over to a PR representative for the UFC.
Yeah. Dana White will be conferencing in from Sacramento, and George St. Pierre from Quebec, Canada. We'll get started with some of your questions, but first we'll start with a prepared statement from GSP. George, you still there? George?
Oh, yeah. I'm very sorry. I was very confused.
Yeah.
No, you said the word first twice, so that was very confusing. You said first we were going to start with questions, then with you know what, forget it. As many of you know, I've been top of the mountain, king of the mountain, top of the Billboard charts, but I have many personal problems. But we are thinking maybe it is time for me to step away.
Hi, GSP Ted, Brisbane, Fact Sports, Jesus. First of all, you know, sad/happy to hear it, but can you maybe tell us what factors you feel from either the press or your personal life, what led you to this decision?
Lots of pressure, lots of criticism. A lot of people do not know that I eat, drink, and sleep my opponents. I know that sounds very weird, but it is true. And it is so much pressure on me. And I have talked with Lorenzo and Dana and Princess Toadstool, and we have decided to vacate the title. And as of today, I am taking a leave of absence from the UFC.
Hey,
GSP, fucking say that in French, would you? Okay. Yeah, Dana. No merci de beaucoup.
Hi, I'm sorry, Ted. Can you, GSP, going back to why you're retired, can you elaborate on what is wrong that's forcing you away?
Oh, see, you do not understand how much pressure I have on my shoulder. Each fight, it is like I have added another plate to a barbell, and I can no longer squat the weight of this championship.
Absolutely. GSP, Craig Landers, groundpower.com. First of all, thank you for your dedication to the sport, the fans, the people, and everything. But I have to ask, what will you do now with your time?
What will I do now with my time? Well, you know, I am a master of martial arts. I will continue to train and just not fight.
Hey, GSP, so you're retiring, but you're training also?
Oh, yes, definitely. I am sure I will come back and fight again. For sure. Possibly. And it appears that GSP is now on the line. Oh, is that fucking so? Oh, you better fucking get him back right fucking now. Sorry, Mr. White. I'll get it on it right now. Thank you. Sorry.
Well, I guess I'll settle for Dana. This is Chad. Hi. Dana, can I ask you a question?
What am I, fucking chopped liver? Yeah, go right fucking ahead.
So, what's happening to the title?
Yeah, okay, so here's what's gonna fucking happen. It's gonna be Johnny Hendricks versus Robbie Lawler for the welterweight title now.
Ooh, what about Carlos Condit?
Who?
Carlos Condit, the number one contender. I'm literally staring at the UFC website right now that says Carlos Condit number one. Next to it is a video of you two together. Like...
Oh, you know, that fucking guy? Yeah, okay, here's the deal. He lost to GSP, then he lost to Hendricks, so it makes sense that we bring in a guy who's ranked lower than him to fight Johnny Hendricks, right?
Yes, it does, Dana. When you put it that way, it's just, thank you. Thank you. Makes sense.
Yeah, now you're fucking playing with power, kid.
Dana, Craig, how does GSP leave affect you? How does it affect you?
You know, I mean, fucking life goes on. I'm sure I'll miss the fucking pay-per-view buys.
But, like, okay, so after UFC 167, you were pissed at GSP, then he showed up. Is this what that was?
You know, there's a lot of fucking things. How do I say this? You know, there was some battling going on between me and Nevada that day. So really, I was taking out my Nevada anger on GSP and all of, you know, fucking you. But, you know.
Dude, you're too much. Hey, Dana, we did a line of coke, and you told me GSP was definitely going to fight again. In fact, you pinky swore, man. My question to you, were you lying to me? Follow up, are you lying to me now?
Okay, now when in the history of this sport have I ever fucking lied about anything?
Women being in the UFC?
Okay, besides that.
The UFC being in New York, November 2013.
No, besides that one too.
Signing Fedor to the UFC.
Hey, moderator later, can you have that fucking guy killed? As you wish, Mr. White.
I'm sorry, Dana, Ted again. Let's go back to, what about GSP's contract?
Oh, his fucking contract. Listen, whether it's 6 months or fucking 6 years, George's contract is frozen. I'm literally putting it in a fucking freezer right this second. Oh, sorry. I'm still here, everyone. Sorry, everybody. My phone tapped out. GSP still number one in comedy. Maybe I will try that now that I have some time on my hands. But no, for serious, everybody, I'm very tired.
Hey, speaking of GSP, Kevin, Verbal Tap Podcast, is it true you are also retiring from your appearances on the MMA comedy podcast, Verbal Tap?
Okay, now time for GSP to jump rope. Thank you all very much for your time. Yep,
bastard.
Jumping rope right now.
GSP, one more.
Sorry, no more questions for today. Thank you all, GSP. Hashtag has left the building. Okay, bye everybody. I'm gone for serious. All right, fucking. This is the way it's gonna go. I'm gonna wrap fucking things up right now. If I don't see you, have a happy fucking holiday, and hopefully I'll see you at UFC 168. Live on December 28th at 7 p.m. only on pay per view. Am I fucking right? Happy fucking holidays. Ho ho ho. Fucking shitting like that. Dana White. I'm fucking out too.
Are you back on the line?
Yeah, I'm good. Yes, I'm back.
Okay, good. First of all, I hope you enjoyed your break. But what did you think of the GSP conference call?
Let me just say, I think that it is remarkable that we were able to cut that press conference down just to 7 minutes.
I wholeheartedly agree with you.
Because I don't know if you guys really listened to that, but that piece of shit went on for 45 minutes. And
so, just a quick side.
If you made it all the way through, you owe yourself a very special treat.
You are food, a diehard fan.
Be it a vacation. Diehard. But holy shit, was that a lot to get through.
Raph listened to it. Did you listen to it live?
Oh, yeah. Okay. You know what was really sad? And I'll tell you this, and it's in confidence of us and our listeners, right?
Sure.
I had a meeting that a person was asking for an informational to speak with me. And they were like, hey, I'd love to hear all about your job and where you work at. And I was like, yeah, of course. And it happened to be right at the very beginning of the meeting with George St. Pierre. And this poor girl shows up on time, and I'm like, I need a few minutes. Do you mind if you just wait for a few minutes? I'll be right out. And I had to listen to the first 15 minutes. I felt so bad putting her on hold, but I was like, this is way more important. We don't know what's happening to George St. Pierre.
There is so much to talk about. Well, so Raph gave me the preface that was like, hey, you got to listen to this thing. And he didn't tell me anything else. Thank God you didn't, because I got to go into it with open ears. I was laying on the couch watching football today, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to listen to the GSP conference. I got to listen to it before the podcast tonight. Let's throw it on. It fucking, first of all, he is one of the top performers ever. He is a pioneer. He's a legend in this sport. And he is saying that whatever's going on his shoulders is so important and detrimental that he is literally giving up his title and taking a break. And you didn't want to do it live?
No.
You didn't maybe want to sell a fucking NOS background banner? And it's not even, I'm arguing for the legitimacy of the sport. You have got to do that like a goddamn professional organization. And they failed. It felt like a work conference call.
Kevin doesn't get to do a lot of these conference calls. Like the pleasure of sitting and on some of these that they do for the UFC. I mean, it's very similar to it, but this was an extra special dose of them not having their shit together, because
it was
2 seconds into it, they lose the person who we're all there to talk about, and two,
my phone tapped out.
Poor GSP. Like, can't even like retire with dignity or walk away and take a leave of indefinite absence. But it was so ridiculously hysterical that when he dropped out, then the reporters were like, okay, fine, we'll talk with Dana, whatever. And it was a little rough because
no one ever puts the crowd at ease like Dana does.
Yeah, and the other thing is, I don't think the reporters knew how to coin it. It was like you could call it a retirement because GSP wouldn't let you. But it also wasn't a declarative sentence. At one point, GSP said if he were to give you a date that he would come back, that would create an expectation. So, too bad. Watch me do some more movies like Captain America. So, it was very strange. The one thing I was a little sad about, and we didn't get to talk about this yet, but I really was hoping that in addition to retiring from mixed martial arts, he would have actually retired from making commercials.
Oh, God. That would have been fucking awesome if he had been like, and I'm also not doing that bullshit anymore. Yep. Here's what I don't understand also. So they do this over the phone, whatever. Mm-hmm. It's GSP semi-retiring, whatever he's doing. Then Dana ends the conference call, the portion with GSP, which presumably people are going to fucking ask you a few questions about Dana. And he immediately is like, here, let me just fucking tell you this. And then he announces that fighting will be Johnny Hendricks versus Lawler. And people are like, well, hold on. I want to talk to you about that, obviously. But wait, what did you just say? That doesn't make any fucking sense. But hold on. I got to ask you about one of the most popular fighters in history retiring from the game.
Yeah. There was no part of this that was normal or just relatively, I guess, mundane. Everything was a little crazier. And if you were to really talk about that, I like the idea that when they're talking about this retirement angle and asking what's going on, and they're trying to get an answer out of Dana, we're still really confused as to why Johnny Hendricks is taking on Robbie Lawler instead of anywhere in that conversation. And this was the part I got really scared about, was there was no mention of Carlos Condit in that whole section until one reporter did ask about Carlos Condit, and Dana shot it down.
I noticed. It's got me, quite frankly, Raph, seething in anger.
Yes,
but we're going to talk about the Condit implications later, because we're trying to give GSP his just due here. So let me say this.
That's fair.
To try and sort of end this with as much integrity as I thought the journalist tried to bring to this stupid conference call, where you had to hit *1 if you wanted to ask a question.
This is still very what they do, Kevin. I hate to break it to you. I feel like I'm ruining so many illusions for you here.
Not GSP. When I'm gonna use a few people that do not. It's not the same sentence, but when notable athletes take a break from a game, there is a fucking press conference, and GSP is about as notable as it gets when it comes to these types of retire. I fucking feel like Tito Ortiz had an actual press conference when he retired. Either way, when it's GSP, when it's your highest grosser, when you could easily sell money for people to watch this 45-minute piece of shit, you need to do it live. That's what GSP gets. He gets a room somewhere, and you guys do this shit live.
They can't even get a webcast.
They can't even get a webcast. I'm going to say my favorite GSP memory, and I'm going to give you time to load yours up.
Oh, I have
My
it.
favorite GSP memory actually comes in. I just thought it was a really cool moment for him in the fight world when he avenged the Matt Serra victory. I'm sorry, not the Matt Serra, Matt Hughes. And what he said was, he was like, the first time I was just so humbled. I was fighting Matt Hughes. I was fighting my idol. The second time I was snapped into focus and beat his ass. So that's my favorite GSP, the second Matt Hughes fight.
That's a pretty good one.
Yours is?
Better.
I knew you said it with, don't worry, we all understood what you said with your fucking tone, Raph.
I'm sorry, this was not on any show rundown. There was not, hey, we both pick our favorite GSP moments. It's
No,
you
but it
springing
also,
on me, and then the fact
I didn't
that
say
I have a better one
shame
ready.
anyone while we were doing it either.
I'm just letting you know that I have a better one. That's all.
Okay.
For it being sprung on me.
For it being sprung on you, you have a better one. Go ahead.
Yes. Let's talk about him basically challenging Matt Hughes for that fight. When he walked in and was trying to sell the fight and blindsides Matt Hughes by telling him he is not impressed with the caliber of his performance. I fell out of my chair because that was GSP thinking, oh, I'm just, promoting the fight. I'm just pushing it along. And Matt Hughes got the worst hurt anybody has ever seen, not having anything to do with an actual fight starting in that moment. And later told him behind the scenes, it was like, hey, man, I think you really went too far. And GSP was just telling him, he's like, I thought we were just promoting the fight. I'm so sorry. So from that moment on, I became a GSP fan. And that's just separate from all the great fights that he's given us. And I think people forget that he was that dominant guy who you were excited to watch finish fights for a time.
For a very long time, actually.
Yeah, and the fact that he was there for 7 years, it's very easy to overlook the more common joke of, yeah, he didn't finish fights towards the end, but he still was never bad. Like that's
Never.
a fascinating thing to really grasp, is that maybe his style became predictable in that he didn't finish people, but that nobody could figure that out.
And no one's been more critical of his lack of excitement than I have. I think it's been pretty publicly clear. But that didn't even occur to me, like it was just the moment I heard he wasn't going to be fighting, was like, "Oh, well fuck. That sucks."
Yeah.
Like it's hard to think of a UFC world, it's hard to think of an MMA world where GSP isn't holding a belt or fighting for it. He has been like most of my fight interest. So,
Yeah. And I agree. I think he will be back. I get this feeling he's not quite done.
and I have
And
the
I think it's
slightest
been a
feeling.
long time since he was really free of anything. And how he mentions he gets obsessed about things. I think it's a
Sure.
matter of time before it kicks back in.
You're saying the other way. I like that. Yeah, you're probably right. And I think it's I think he'll definitely be back on Verbal Tap. So look forward to that, fans. We are going to take a quick break and, Hey, don't forget to check out BJJFinder.com or the app on iTunes. BJJ Finder, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu School located. I'm just explaining to Raph that my life is like an open book, which means it's time to come back and talk more fights. UFC on Fox 9. Raph, tell us all about this. Was it, I call it, I have a knack. I said this fight would be 5 rounds of
Did
no
you?
one
Okay.
finishing the fight.
Oh. I think you're talking about the main event, Demetrius Johnson versus Joseph Benavidez, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay. What would you say if I were to tell you it ended in the first round, 2 minutes, 8 seconds?
I would say that doesn't even remotely sound possible.
Yeah.
I do actually remember watching The Hook and thinking, oh, fuck. Called that. Of course he knocked him out, that little son of a bitch.
Now, were you most mad at yourself or at me for knowing that I would take such glee in how wrong you were?
It doesn't have to be one without the other. I think it was a perfect combination. I was pretty sure it was going to come up, though. I will say, Ref, I have to admit, I don't remember the particulars of most of the fights.
How many shots do you think people bought for you yesterday night?
I can answer it exactly when I started to not. So 6 was the number in which I have trouble counting past. I'm told it was in the proximity of 8 to 12.
To be fair, even when you're sober, it is difficult for you to get past 6. That is your hardest number.
It's that's oh, fuck you. That was funny. It caught me off guard. Yeah, that's true. Whenever you can subtly jab my math skills and really give me a little Benavidez, it feels good. So Demetrius Johnson says he was practicing for that punch since his last fight with Benavidez. Is this the evolution of the game we're seeing right in front of us, where you're going to see guys really fixate on one move that will get them a win?
I hope so, especially if it's a knockout like that, and they're these little bitty guys. I mean, the best part about this fight is Demetrius Johnson is a good fighter. He's very athletic. I think he's smart. And Joseph Benavidez is a great foil for him. And I thought that this would be a great fight that we'd see go a little bit longer. But his speed and just catching him on the right side, it was really cool to watch him, because he almost backs up. Like, he sees a rush coming at him and knew exactly the right pocket to sit in to get this. And I watched in amazement, because you almost didn't believe it was true. You just go, oh no, he's super out. Shit.
And was there any chance, because is there any chance Benavidez was coming back from that? I mean, what did you think about the follow-up? Was it a quick 1, 2, 3 pat? Like, did Demetrius put the rail on?
Well, it's funny you asked that, because Big John, yeah, I guess maybe he's getting up there in age, or I don't know what's happening. But when you've got these two guys who essentially have the speed of flight, Demetrius Johnson got about 7 or 8 hits before Big John could really step in there and break up the fight. And one of my friends was like, "What a dick. I can't believe he got in all those shots." And I was like, "Well, you're one of those people who make fun of those little guys. So to you, 7 or 8 of 9 of those shots would be like a real human's one." And he laughed, and I was like, "Well, there you go." But honestly, it did look a little awkward. And Benavidez was actually out for the commercial break when they broke, and then he was okay again. So it was good to see him up and around. But it was a knockout.
It'll be interesting to see what's next for Demetrius Johnson, and no one really seems to know.
I don't know. I think he's. Go ahead.
I think he should just fight. Let's just Benson Henderson. Let's just make a super fight. Why not?
They were talking about the super fight between him and Jose Aldo.
Oh, well, that one I care less about. I think Jose Aldo would destroy him. Well, I'm just being bitter. That's such a better idea than him versus Benson Henderson.
I'm mad because I didn't think of it first.
You think Jose Aldo? Hold on, no. I know why now. Pettis has a date with Jose Aldo, and I would much rather see that fight.
Oh, okay. Did you just figure out you're out? I don't care. I would see any of those fights.
Agreed.
Because I think it'd be a great test for Demetrius, and I think it'd be allowed for him to really show what kind of champion he is in that situation.
I screamed out loud at the bar, Michael McDonald needs to work on his jiu-jitsu. And people looked at me terrified. Would you like to explain to the listeners and me what happened?
Okay. I would like to explain that Kevin loves to get on his high horse about jiu-jitsu at any given time. And especially when we're talking about professional fighters, which is always hysterical to listen to Kevin do. But first of all, I think we know that I love Michael McDonald, if only by name.
Why do you love Michael McDonald?
Because something wanna be something.
Oh, yeah. Now I remember. Yeah, now I know.
It's from the Dewey Brothers. So I always get a big kick out of it. But in the pre-package, he said that Uriah's getting a little old. He's like 35 or something. And complained maybe it's time for the old guard to be, kind of put to sleep metaphorically.
Ouch.
And Uriah Faber went out there and showed no parts of being that old. Either in his stand-up, I mean, he's getting so much better at certain things, and Uriah is his jiu-jitsu. When he saw that guillotine transition happening, that was his Christmas present.
That was Happy Christmas for Uriah Faber. And it also looks like from the fight statistics, Faber was killing him with the strikes. This was a clearly strike. Okay, this is an interesting win for Faber. It really is.
Yeah, and there was no point where you thought, oh, Faber doesn't have this in his corner. Like, it wasn't, nothing was really preventing him from having things going his way. He was just in a great place. And like I said, when you get a submission that you pull off routinely, and that's something that you're known for in your training camp, it looks like the best thing in the world for him to just go, yep, here it is. Oh, is this a guillotine? Yeah, I'm going to transition and roll just to make it look even cooler. Yep, I'm amazing.
And he won submission of the night for those honors, by the way, which is badass.
He was the only submission. Sure.
I know, he was which is always, screw it, it's $50,000 in his pocket.
I'll take it.
I was thinking about this as I saw that they give out $50,000 for all of the fight of the night, knockout and submission. From a jiu-jitsu perspective, I appreciate that they put submission attempt equal to knockout, and I just wish the judges would do the same. Congratulations to the California kid, Uriah Faber. I love seeing his resurgence. It's really fun to see him just still looking the way he does. Chad Mendez defeats Nick Lentz via decision, and in the post-fight conference, Chad Mendez seemed physically upset with himself. Why was he so down on himself?
He said that he was sick, and this is the best part about listening to fight commentary.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan doesn't waste any time. He's just like, there's something not right with him tonight. I don't know what it is, but this isn't what we've seen. And he just basically got a takedown and wasn't looking to punch the guy. It looked like a very classic wrestler takedown with no follow through. So it was a very awkward thing to see this guy who you're used to, if he gets on top of you, at least working to finish the fight, even if he's not.
Yeah.
And everybody was talking about how, oh shit, what's wrong with this guy? And 2 seconds after the fight, they get Ariel Helwani on the line, and he's like, I talked with him afterwards, and he said he was sick. And then it made me think, if you're Nick Lentz, double bonus lose. Because not only did you fight a guy and lose, but now you might be sick.
To really bring this podcast full circle. And
what a great moment for this guy to just be rolling and going, I'm sorry, he had what? The flu?
Are you fucking kidding me right now?
But they defined it as he's had some sort of weird, Mendes has had some sort of weird bronchitis or weird phlegm. And I think he was even off of antibiotics because he didn't want an excuse to get out of the fight. So imagine getting ready for your fight week being ridiculously, grossly ill. And even the things that are supposed to make you feel better, just because they're going to mess with your fight week, you don't take them. Insane.
And let me ask you this, Raph, because this is also my way of both interjecting some NBA into this podcast and
God damn it,
asking you the tough questions. Michael Jordan's shoes that he wore for his flu game 6 of the playoffs, sold for $130,000. How much do you think Chad Mendez's shorts he was wearing during this flu match where he wins by decision over Nick Lentz will sell for?
I'm not respecting any part of this or dignifying that with an answer. I'm going to wait for an actual moment when fight shorts is an important part of a conversation. So let's move to the next fight.
Saddest moment. Win. And you know how, fucking Mac Danzig, you vegan artist gentleman. It's my fault, Mac, as much as it is anyone's. Whenever Mac is fighting, whichever way I choose, it will go the opposite. Sadly, I once again lose out on a Mac Danzig call because he loses to Joe Lazan via decision, and it looks like this came down to a decision of control.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I got, and it also has Lazan has a few submission attempts. I did not see this fight. There was a mariachi band wishing me Feliz Cumpleaños.
Oh my god! It does explain the giant sombrero that Kevin is wearing.
Yeah.
On one of his Facebook photos. And Kevin has this look on his face that like he's pointing at somebody and giving a thumbs up. So you could already tell without knowing where he's at on how many drink count that he's having a great night.
I don't
meanwhile,
drink that. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
For those of us who were watching the fights and being good journalists, I was watching it and I was excited for this fight for a lot of reasons. One, two people who are good at jiu-jitsu, always something to good that's for us that we like to watch. And I personally like both Joe Lazan and Mac Danzig. I think they're both kind of an off-center kind of fighter. Like Joe Lazan looks like the biggest nerd, but you can never call him that because he would destroy you in every way possible. And Mac Danzig is just, he's this, like you mentioned, he's a vegan who, when he was on The Ultimate Fighter, was just like, hey, I don't want any drama. I hope we don't have any drama because, like, drama's stupid. Also, I'm a vegan and I take photos, whatever. And I don't know, like, there was something that was exciting about this fight. And within the first minute, you have these two high-caliber jiu-jitsu people going for submissions. And more importantly, you have Joe Lazan almost securing an armbar and in the post-press conference saying he heard Mac Danzig's arm start to pop.
Ooh.
And I got to a point where it made me nervous to watch this fight because even in that first round, when I saw that armbar, it looked like if it were on me or you, like Dunsville 3000. Like
negative tap. Just done.
Negative tap. You've won before you've walked in the cage. And Mac Danzig found a way out of it, transitioned very well, but it looked like, no, something's not right here. That looks like he's hurting a lot, but he made it out of it and kind of weathered the storm. And Joe Lazan just put a hurt on him and was looking to finish the fight continuously. And this is kind of a a weird statistic, I guess, for the record books, but this is the first fight that Joe Lazon didn't fight to a finish. In terms
Interesting.
of, like, he
That
didn't
happens. I
actually
mean,
put out
he's
somebody.
still young, right?
But he's mad that it was one of his first wins that he's had without finishing a fighter. And I think you want to look at
Should
him and
be
say, like,
mad.
you're due, but we get it, dude. It's fine. Like, you're going to come back, and I'm sure you're going to submit somebody else who maybe would have tapped to an armbar like that. But props to these guys. It wasn't what I would say classically the most exciting and entertaining fight, but for people like us, it was like, oh, shit.
Yeah. Jiu-jitsu with punching.
Yep.
This is the best. Now, fight of the night goes to Castillo and Barbosa.
Yeah.
Do you agree with this?
Oh, definitely. This was a crazy fight. You have Barboza, who had these ridiculous kicks against Danny Castillo, who's pushing up the action, just really pressing this action. And Danny Castillo was really, at certain points, putting the hurt on Barboza. And both of these fighters looked like they could have finished the fight at any given time, but were just tough as shit. And I thought it made for a really good fight. It was going to be hard to top that.
It proved it would be very difficult to top it. Court McGee loses to Ryan LaFleur.
Yes.
Ryan LaFleur. We also have Bobby Green defeating Pat Healy. Scott Jorgensen loses to Zach Mabkovsky in the hardest name to pronounce fight, I think.
And on most of these, it's very much the Barboza's kind of a coin toss, but a lot of the underdogs really shining through. Like Jorgensen, you would have put probably some more money on, and
A lot of
I think most
decisions
people would
in
have had
the
Court McGee. Definitely a lot of decisions. That's an understatement. But let's talk about your shorts question. You had a question about shorts that had nothing to do with the fights we were talking about.
Oh yeah,
But there was one
Blue
fight
shorts.
that it did actually come into effect. You know what fight that was?
No. Scott Jorgensen.
Sam Stout versus Cody McKenzie.
Mackenzie.
Did you hear any part of this? Were you sober enough to understand what this was?
No.
Okay, let me explain to you the hilarity of this fight.
Driving to the
So, yes,
restaurant.
this
during
goes to
this fight,
decision.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Okay. There's nothing you probably saw live, but it's something that in the post press conference they definitely made a harp on. But if you were able to eagle eye spot this during the show, give yourselves kudos, because Cody McKenzie came to the ring in these weird basketball-esque shorts that had pockets in them, and they didn't have their tag cut off of them.
They were still fresh off the rack.
Yes.
Ugh.
Now imagine, apparently he didn't have the proper shorts and a mouth guard. So he didn't have one. So somebody had to run to like a Target, let's just say, come back, give him those, forgot to take off the tag. Dana White, post-press conference, furious, talking about how embarrassed he was about it. And to be honest, when I saw it, it's one of those moments that you look at and you say, am I seeing this? I guess it was bound to happen.
Was it?
I guess someone
is this
was bound to, yeah.
Is this forgivable? I feel like this is one of those things. It's like, how fucking hard is it to bring shorts that pass whatever their equipment standards are?
I guess, man. But on the good side, at least you could go get a pickup game afterwards at a local
That's
park of
true.
basketball.
No reason he can't
So-
still get a workout in. That's
Pro con.
Pro con. Our final fight, Abe Trujillo versus Roger Bowling, and I swear to God, these two have fought like 6 times.
They fought one other time.
Oh, okay.
Do you remember why? What happened?
I don't, but Abe Trujillo through the knees, the illegal
Hey,
knees.
Kevin's memory had a breakthrough, buddy.
Suck it, hangover. Yeah. Blow me.
I don't know that in your first moment of showing that you're a
Clarity.
smart human being on this podcast, you really want to follow it up with "suck it" and "blow me." But
Blow me.
at least
Yeah, I tried to be.
Abel Trujillo just was destructive, vicious, angry.
Always
Roger
is.
Bowling looked within 2 seconds of this fight like he was backpedaling, and in a way that he wasn't even in the same class that night, unfortunately. Like, I think Roger Bowling's a good fighter, but Abel Trujillo turned it up several notches on this fight. And when you watch this fight, Kevin, just compare it between the Abel Trujillo we saw yesterday from the one that we saw a few months ago, and
Yeah.
it even capitalized the whole and like put an exclamation mark on this whole fight. He was throwing very vicious legal knees. this
Hey,
entire-
good.
He found ways to just jump and knee someone in the face. He found somebody, even at the end of the fight, Roger was kind of pressed up against the cage, hits a low legal knee, and then just starts clocking him. And so cool to watch.
And that's the end of the fight. There was an online prelim. Oh, God, this might be a harder name. Darren Uyenoyama versus Alptekin Ozkalic. Jesus Christ. Okay, that one wins. Hardest name. Ozkalic wins via decision. Great. You always want those fights to go the distance.
Yeah.
So overall, not a bad card, though severely lacking its main event, which was supposed to be Carlos Condit versus Matt Brown.
And it was a co-main event, but it was felt in its presence that Carlos was not there. There were at least 3 times during the night where I said, man, it would have been cool. But there were a ton of fights that were supposed to have been on this card. We were supposed to see Kelvin Gastelum take on Court McGee.
That would have been
We were
an
supposed
awesome
to see
fight.
Ian McCall versus Scott Jorgensen and Jamie Varner versus Pat Healy. There were a lot of fights that we were supposed to see happen, but it's weird that the underdogs, like people who came in to take these fights at the last minute, like Bobby Green, Zach Mikowski, LaFleur, all came in and ended up winning. Even Alptekin. It's just insane. So it was kind of weird.
I
I
did talk
guess
about the fun momentum of having new people added to the card late.
Okay. I guess you did kind of mention that.
Thanks, Raph. That's Raph saying,
I'll give you that much.
Sure. Any final
and
notes on this card?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give it to you mostly because it's your birthday, and I figure we'll let you fill that one out. But yeah, good card, good for Fox. The ratings were so. I think they'll end up going up a little bit more in the finals, but I think it's always good when we get some of these exposure kind of moments, especially for that new talent that you're talking about. We're excited to see how some of them go, and a big night for your 2 big performers in Demetrius Johnson and Uriah Faber, who delivered, and that's really what you needed to make that work last night.
I do have to ask you, and we'll do this quickly, but I'm staring at the UFC.com/rankings.
Sure.
And I'm particularly looking at the welterweight division. And we're going to do this in 2 minutes or less so I don't lose it.
Okay.
I see Johnny Hendricks is labeled 0 here, which is that makes a lot of sense. That's super helpful.
I would love to tell people I'm ranked 0 on the international fight rankings.
What the fuck does 0 mean? Anyway. And they also took off champion. You know, you could put champion George St. Pierre and then leave it intact, and we'll just assume that anyway. Nice work, web design team over at UFC.com. How is Carlos Condit, who's ranked number 1, to Johnny Hendricks 0, with a total ranking of 1 between the two of them, not fighting for the title? Raph, do you have any defense of the UFC, or is this just another smack in the face and a long line of groin shots to Carlos Condit?
I'll give you 2 answers. I'll give you my answer first, and then I'll give you my girlfriend's answer second. Okay?
Perfect.
My answer first is I just knew it was going to hurt you. I didn't want to have to tell you that Carlos Condit wasn't going to get a fight. I tried to think of it logically from the standpoint of how is the best way to break this to Kevin? It's like telling your kid Santa Claus isn't real.
Just in time for the holidays.
Yep. So it took a little while, but the second reaction from my girlfriend was really good, where I go, yeah, it's just really strange that Nick Diaz turned down this fight behind the scenes of UFC on Fox 9 and told Dana he wanted to fight the winner of Hendricks versus Lawler. And you think about it and you go, how does he at all deserve that fight? And why isn't Carlos Condit mentioned? And my girlfriend goes, oh, that's easy because Dana wants to prolong this. So basically, he figures let them fight, and then you've got a case for Carlos Condit fighting whoever. He doesn't want to tie this all up in one fight. He wants to keep this going.
Well, it was a slap in the face to the fight world. That's all it was. It was a violent overlook of what should happen when this type of... And this is why the UFC just takes a step fucking back. 2 in 1 week. 2 in the same goddamn phone presser. You don't let your giants take leaves of absences without a press crew there to watch it and follow it, because no way ESPN or these other places are going to pick it up. And you also don't have an interim champion fight with the first and third ranked teams. It's like, hey, we know that you two teams were the best 2 in college, but we're actually going to go with first and third for the BCS title. Yeah, it doesn't make sense, but then again, fuck you. Thanks, Dana. Thank you very much. Very helpful.
I think that brings up 2 good points, though.
Yeah.
One, that Primetime, the special that you get to obsess over Carlos Condit all the time.
Yeah.
It's going on hiatus. So.
Oh, just thanks, UFC. This is going to be the best holiday season yet. It was my birthday. That, I guess, was one present. And now Primetime, which I've boasted about for years as being one of the best things that the UFC does.
Yeah.
They're suspending it?
Yeah, they said there's not enough ratings, and it costs a lot to do.
How does it cost
a
lot to do?
The cameras are expensive, and that primetime real estate is also expensive to put on, too. But second, it's what happens when you go on a building sports network. People don't tune into that sort of stuff. It's supposed to be a building cost. So I'm sure it's one of the things that cut corners. And I'm sure if you ask the fighters like Carlos Condit was talking about, and some others that we've talked to, it's just kind of a pain in the ass to have that when you have a fight week.
Oh, come on. The fighters have to say that. You know they love having the cameras there. It's so
I'm not
cool.
so sure I would.
Well... Oh, yeah, I know how much you hate attention. Look, this is a travesty, and they're going to miss these, and they'll bring them back because people are going to go irate. Calling it now.
Sure.
Bold predictions with Kevin Phillips. Over under that shit. There is definitely going to be a resurgence of the prime time.
Let's hope so, because it is a fun thing to watch.
It's not like they do it for every fight. They just did it for the big ones. Come on.
Yeah.
D-bags. At least send somebody with an iPhone to go do a little bit of training. Like, open up a vlog. Who cares? Let Matt Serra go eat his way back around the country. Killing me this week, UFC. And to really throw the third finger in and just make this a painful adventure, UFC 168, they raised the price. $5. You seem to think this is significant. I kind of just think, yeah, that makes sense. It's a stacked card.
State your case.
Well, I would rather state my case not in the same conversation where Carlos Condit's fight doesn't get taken off the card, because you have a point that that's incredibly possible. But it is Rousey versus Tate, which is the greatest rivalry in sports. And it's Silva, and it's Silva doing something Silva hasn't done in a fucking decade, which is come back into a fight trying to get his belt. Like, we haven't seen Silva hungry since he knocked out Lieben. I can understand wanting to raise $5 on such an unbelievable card.
Here's my argument.
Go for it.
You're talking about a $5 increase for UFC 168. Now, $5 are going to increase for every single pay-per-view, which is, we've had a couple of those where they've inched up every so often from like 34 to 40 to 45. Now this is just a $5 increase for this one card. Do you know what the worst problem about this is?
What?
they're trying to charge us $5 extra for all of those fucking promos we've had to watch about the drama between Ronda and Misha. In my book, they owe me $5 off this fucking card.
I don't know if they'll see it the same way, but you're
I
making
don't give a
sense.
shit if they see it
I'll
that
tell you
way.
that. You're underneath a hot burner, and it's doing its job. Is that a
I
metaphor?
get it. Anderson Silva, one of the best people of all time. He is amazing. I get it.
Says
You can
wizard
raise
across
that.
his dick
Maybe.
on his UFC profile.
Maybe they're afraid that they're not going to get any new people watching for a while. Maybe they've got to meet end quarter sales. I don't know what the fuck it is, but there's something weird about having a consistent price point that now we know they're not afraid to modify, which becomes a little more testy when you've got over 50 pay-per-views and events that are happening within the coming year, and the UFC talking about kind of a Netflix network slash web channel that they're going to start launching, because we may start losing the rights to watching live on free TV fights that happen like Rio or China. So
Interesting.
this is an alarming moment for, I think, all fight fans, for when they say, oh, we're just going to do it for this one. That, my friend, is bullshit. And that's the kind of thing where I'm getting uneasy about, where I say, I don't know. You let it happen once, and then all of a sudden things break bad.
Raf, do you think Congress should investigate? Do you think this is on par with steroids in baseball? You
I
sound
would lead
tuned
the
up,
charge
sir.
on this one. I'm just saying.
Here
mark
now,
my words.
From Verbal
we have
Tap
a moment-
MMA Comedy Podcast, Rafa Esparza with his thoughts. That's Congress
Yes,
calling
thank
you.
you. And I think you would know that I would make the most out of my time in Congress too, with that sort of thing. I would gerrymander and rabble rouse for days end. But I think the hardest part for us is it's a weird precedent to start. So I'm a little weary about it. But yes, for this one time, let's see what happens. But I'd like to revisit this conversation in a year, and hopefully nothing has changed and we only have to put up with this just this once. But I'm not so sure yet.
Interesting. Bold predictions with Rafa Esparza. It sounds like he thinks the UFC is coming for your wallet and your Social Security. So look out, world. $5 more on the next fight. No, you actually did make some pretty compelling arguments that scared the shit out of me. So that's helpful. Thank you very much, Raf. And I'm interested to see how the UFC turns. I will also mention Josh Barnett is on that card. And we get to see our friend from last week's podcast, Chris Lieben. Speaking of last week's podcast, if you enjoyed it, head on over to iTunes and don't forget to leave us a little ranking. Make sure you read the write-ups the Raf's doing over at verbaltapcast.com, because they're really pretty spectacular. You do a good job painting a picture, opinion-wise, of your various. It's not necessarily what happened, but it's an interesting picture of how you remember that you think it happened.
That's
So
so
always
weird, especially
appreciated.
in a column that's called Raf's Recollection, that it would basically reflect my recollection of said podcast. That's really weird.
Well, you've already admitted you're into rabble rousing, so this must just be another example
On
of
behalf of the good of the people, I'm trying to save us some money, Kevin. The economy is just
Nailing
barely
it.
coming back. We need to get our shit together. The debt and healthcare and other issues that cause problems for Americans. Time Warner
global
Cable.
warming, sure. Absolutely. Pile it on. People drinking too much on their 28th birthday. It's a fucking epidemic.
Kids can't eat, Kevin.
We'll be right back with some final thoughts. As we come back, quick surprise, Verbal Tapcast fans. Some of you might know this because Dana White said it with a lot of expletives. He offered a fight between Nick Diaz and Carlos Condit, and Nick Diaz turned it down. Here to comment, the one, the only, Nick Diaz. Nick, would you like to explain why you... Nick, what is that? Come on, you can wait to spark up until after the... Could you focus, please, Nick?
No.
No.
I am trying to focus on something, but you're not letting me do that.
All right, why don't you want to fight Carlos Condit?
Because he's a bitch.
Perfect. Thanks, Nick, for calling in. We'll be sure to get back with you. That was Nick Diaz.
Smoke weed every day, okay?
The funniest moments are just the truth.
Aren't they? What a surprise that was from Nick Diaz. Raf, this has been a fun podcast. We got to recreate one of the worst atrocities the UFC has done publicly, which was the GSP retirement.
I don't think
was it a
didn't
retirement?
recreate it. We just cut it down.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we condensed it to a manageable volume. If you're asking me, I'd rather listen to our version.
Yeah, I would too. In fact, that's I think why we did it. I hope that's what people feel too.
It's
I
gonna
like the
get
idea of the one
released as
person
the
who
real
tweets us
version.
and goes, "You know what? I'd rather listen to the real fucking thing. Fuck you guys.
Yeah. Hey, tweet us at
Give me
Verbal
45
Tap
minutes of
Cast.
boredom."
You saved me 38 minutes of my life that my roommate won't stop screaming about. Oh, gosh. It's been a fun one, and it's time for, well, some people's favorite part of the show, shout-outs. Mr. Esparza, would you like to start the shout-outs this evening?
I would. Let's start first and foremost with Valley Martial Arts Center.
Mac.
Such a great night the other night. We had our promotion and everybody get together and party night, and we had a new blue belt in our midst. So congratulations to AJ, one of the coolest guys that we have there. So nice, always there with a smile on his face. So all of us were just so happy for him. So congratulations, my man. I do love the idea that he got that look in his face where he's all like super happy. And our instructor is just starting to get more and more blue belts since we're kind of a newer school. And so our instructor has that look where he's just so proud of him. And he's just like, "You come here and get this." And then AJ is just like, "Yeah, dude." And then he like walks over. And it maybe took them about 5 minutes to untie his belt, which makes it more comical to someone like me because I'm trying not to do any jokes. Like I always like when a real moment's happening, I have to continuously tell my brain, don't make any jokes. Don't do anything. Just shut up. Don't be that person. But AJ is also one of the first people to, like, in a given moment, like, make a joke or something. So it was a really cool, festive moment for all of us. And super stoked to see that happen. So good job, everybody at Valley Martial Arts Center.
Vivek! Raph, you're a genius sometimes in this next bit. You are a genius for creating. We're going to need 1 minute on the clock because we're going to do a ton of random, well, Raph's going to do a ton of random Twitter thank yous.
Yep.
Are you ready, sir?
I think so. Do we have a minute on the clock?
Yes, 1 official minute is on the clock.
Okay, we don't get the chance to say thank you guys enough, but a lot of you interact with us throughout the week, and we're always so excited when you guys talk to us. We try to respond to everybody, and we hope you like it. So we just want to take this moment to just start shouting out as many people as we can in 1 minute's time. Kevin, I think I'm ready. Let's knock this out.
In 3, 2, 1, da-da-ding!
All right, Chicago Sports Mockery, always funny to us, always tweeting out some of the best jokes. 5 Grappling, a great organization. Look it up if you haven't on. Word on the Street, another rival podcast. They're okay, not as good as us. Let's go ahead and go to ATH. They're always really funny. SOHEI, this is Soe Gear. They're so funny. Love them. Lisa Marie, always one of our favorites. Team Tate, who is actually helping us to get try and get Misha on the podcast. We're not going to get her on, unfortunately, but we want to thank you for all of your help doing it. WMMA UK, I can't believe people actually listen to us over there. Tiffany Ralston, James Coe, by the way, happy kid. I don't know if you say things, but happy kid is what I just said. It's almost like happy birthday, but that. J Brat, 75, BJJ Training Journal, results will vary. John Evans actually retweeted us. He better be retweeting us. Edwin Jimmy, he's very, very good blue belt competing. dude's amazing. Please look out for his stuff. Mr. Miller, Mark Montoya, Ian Kento. More and more people are so funny to us. Jiu-Jitsu Journal. Let's go on over. BJJRants.com. Super funny stuff. We're going to try and get them on the podcast very soon. Jessica V. Other people. Don Moore, Jordan Pigsman, Misty Elgo, Liz Mitterson, Shred, Tanner Brookerup, Chris Lieben. Awesome. Armando Hernandez, Lanky Fight Gear, Powley.
5 seconds left.
Rick Lee, Kenny Bell, and Tommy Santos, Decepticom, and
Time. It was close to a minute.
It was close.
It was a RAF minute. It was a tough review minute.
59 seconds, I'm pretty sure.
I'll tack on a thank you to BJJ and MMA Training Academy for the therapy through my holiday times at work, and the guys over at No Concept. That's gonna do us. Oh my fucking god, Raph! I'm so hungover. That's gonna do it for us. Thanks, man. That's gonna do it for us over here at Verbal Tapcast. Head on over to iTunes, leave us a 5-star review, say something nice about the podcast, and like others that are helpful. Find us on Twitter, doing this banter and more at Verbal Tapcast. Head on over to verbaltapcast.com for all the latest on what's going on with us. That's gonna be it for the show. I'm Kevin. Thanks for listening.
Good night and good fight. And don't be scared, homies. You're just a fucking bitch, Carlos Condit.
Oh, Nick. Nick, you make me feel better about doing this show hungover, buddy.
Hey, you make me feel better about being an asshole who can't get hungover and keep his shit together.
Such